I never thought moving back home would change my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. After my father's passing, I returned to the old house to help my stepmother Olivia with everything. It seemed like the right thing to do, a final gesture to honor my father. But life, it seems, has a way of offering the unexpected. Olivia had been married to my father for 5 years before he died. She was only 10 years older than me, a stunning woman in her mid-30s, with an elegance that always seemed effortless. Her long dark hair framed a face that could steal breaths away, and her eyes, those deep, mysterious eyes, held secrets I was just starting to notice. When I arrived, she greeted me at the door, her smile warm but tinged with sadness. "James," she said softly, "it's good to see you." I nodded, my throat tight. "You too, Olivia." We shared an awkward hug. Her body was soft, her scent, a delicate blend of jasmine and something sweet, lingered longer than it should have. I pulled away, trying to dismiss the flutter in my chest as nothing more than nerves. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. "I've made up your old room." I walked inside, memories flooding me. The house felt the same and yet different. My father's presence was gone, and in his place was an emptiness I couldn't ignore. Days turned into weeks. I settled into a routine, helping Olivia with errands, fixing things around the house, and trying to distract myself with work. We shared dinners together, the silence between us filled with unspoken thoughts. One evening, after we finished a quiet meal, Olivia leaned back in her chair, her eyes shimmering in the candlelight. "James," she said, "you don't have to stay here, you know. You have your own life." I shook my head. "I want to help. Dad would have wanted me to." Her lips curled into a sad smile. "You're a good man, just like your father." Something in her voice broke my resolve. I stood up abruptly, clearing the table. "I'll clean up," I muttered. As I washed the dishes, I felt her presence behind me. She didn't say anything, but her closeness, it was like a current running through the air. I turned around to say something, anything, to break the tension, and found her standing just inches away. Her eyes searched mine, and for the first time, I saw something I shouldn't have. Longing. I stepped back, gripping the edge of the sink. I should go for a walk." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "All right." That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and feelings I didn't understand. I tossed and turned until the moon was high in the sky. Giving up, I went downstairs for a glass of water. I froze halfway down the stairs. Olivia was in the living room, sitting by the window, bathed in moonlight. She wore a silk robe that clung to her figure, the fabric shimmering with every breath she took. Her eyes were distant, lost in thought. I knew I should turn back. I knew I should pretend I hadn't seen her, but I couldn't. "Can't sleep either?" she asked, her voice a soft whisper. I swallowed hard. "Yeah." She patted the seat beside her. "Join me?" Against my better judgment, I walked over and sat down. The silence stretched between us, heavy and electric. "It's strange," she murmured, "how empty the house feels without him." I nodded, my throat tight. "I know." She turned to me, her eyes glistening. "Sometimes I forget he's gone. I expect him to walk through the door, to hear his laugh." Her voice broke, and without thinking, I reached out and took her hand. Her fingers curled around mine, warm and trembling. "You're not alone, Olivia," I said softly. She looked at me, and for a heartbeat, the world stopped. The air between us crackled with something dangerous, something we both felt but didn't dare name. Her gaze dropped to my lips. I leaned in before I could stop myself. Our lips met in a kiss that was hesitant, trembling with uncertainty. And then it deepened. Her arms wound around my neck, pulling me closer, and I lost myself in her warmth. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "James," she whispered, "we shouldn't." "I know," I said, "but I don't want to stop." Her eyes searched mine, torn between guilt and desire. Neither do I. The days that followed were a blur of stolen glances, accidental touches that lingered too long, and nights spent lying awake, craving something I couldn't have. The tension between us grew unbearable, a fire that refused to die. One evening, after a long day of avoiding each other, I found her in the kitchen washing dishes. The setting sun cast a golden glow over her, making her look ethereal. I walked up behind her, my heart pounding. Olivia. She froze, her shoulders tense. James. I turned her to face me, cupping her cheek in my hand. I can't keep pretending. Her eyes filled with tears. Neither can I. This time, when our lips met, there was no hesitation. The dam broke and all the feelings we'd been holding back came rushing out. I kissed her like she was the only thing keeping me alive, and maybe she was. We stumbled to the living room, hands exploring, hearts racing. The world outside disappeared, leaving only the two of us in a haze of desire. Afterward, we lay together on the couch, our bodies tangled. The guilt was there, lurking in the shadows, but it couldn't touch the warmth between us. What happens now? She whispered. I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that I didn't want to lose her. We'll figure it out, I said, holding her close. She sighed, resting her head on my chest. I hope so. As the sun set outside, casting the room in shadows, I knew one thing for certain. My life would never be the same again.